All right, it says we are live. Let's go ahead and try this again because, yes. All right, Sean Hufford, you have the link. Great, you have the link. Sly, you have the link. I'm going to try the main link, and then I'll also try the secondary and see how that works. Hopefully it does. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Welcome back to the.
Oh, it's already live too. Damn, you're on the
he
roll.
doesn't mess around, does he? Dude?
It's great when you have internet that actually works and a laptop that doesn't crash every 5 fucking seconds.
Welcome back. Did the link work to this guy that you know of, or
that I don't know, but it seems to be working for all of you guys.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Did you? By the way, did you decide that if you wanted me to moderate between you guys tomorrow? Because I love moderating these types of things. I admit it. I really enjoy it.
I have no problem with it.
All right, because I'll be awake at 8 a.m. my time. Okay, that's cool.
Yep, I believe that's it. And I am also trying to invite some people that wanted a link last time. So let's see how that works. So, nope, don't want that. So let's try. All right, Druss, you have link.
Airplane.
Butterfly.
Butterfly.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, he almost convinced me. I was thinking about it there for a while. I'm like, damn, he's making some pretty valid points. I might become a flat earther.
Butterfly.
So what exactly did I miss?
Yeah, what did I miss? Shit.
Nothing much.
Butterflies.
Okay, so
Oh, not the water versus flying things, is it?
No, I guess because butterflies can fly, gravity is not a thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gravity is strong enough to hold down the oceans, but not strong enough to hold down butterflies and bees.
I just can't. These people just not even have like 4th grade in their lands or what?
all right,
Hey, I can present my video I did on that.
Okay, so I already have it. Please. The last thing I want him to get is the answers to all of those problems before I actually talk to the guy. I know it's tempting, but please don't spoil this shit for me.
I don't understand the answers.
Butterflies.
Butterflies.
I would like you to get him to explain the definition of level.
I'm going to make a video on that.
I don't think you can.
I'm going to make a video of butterflies prove flat Earth. I'm going to do it.
No, what it should be is just you screaming butterflies into the mic for like 5 minutes.
But who will think about the butterflies?
Okay, can I go ahead and try to? I'm going to try and get Tony in.
Oh God, where do you find these people?
Okay. Also, Steve, can you try again and send this link to Mike Duffy?
Yes,
see
sir.
If it works, since it's obvious he's on mobile.
Yeah, he ended up in a different hangout with somebody else for that link.
That makes no sense. Okay.
I know. I put it in the group chat. I'll give Mike. I'll give it to Mike again.
So let's see if Tony can get in now.
Yeah, Mike. We didn't send Mike to a different hangout, but he actually ended up somewhere other than here.
Well, if I can, while you're setting up, if I can do a shameless plug, I already did this video last year. Birds and the bees for flat earthers.
Shameless plug time. We love
shameless plug.
I do it all the time, so I'm not going to stop you.
No, I'm not going to play it. I'm just saying I got it.
Play it. But give me the link to give the mic in the group chat. No, I say play it. I watch a lot of your stuff, Sly, but I can't say I've watched everything, so I missed this.
Well, it's only 3 minutes and 40 seconds long, so
that's 3 minutes 40 seconds out of my life.
But it's not butterflies.
I'm gonna have to try and make this work. So I'll send it and see if it does it for Mike and Truth. So apparently there's 2 people trying to get into the hangout, but because they're on fucking mobile, they aren't able to get in. Huh. You know what? I'm gonna try this on my mobile and see what happens.
I might as well do a shameless plug too. Just FYI, if you guys care, I got Zoe Does Life coming in tomorrow as a guest, and I have Iseth, the original Logic's wife, on the 9th, which I think is a Saturday, which is gonna be fun. So, if you guys watch any of their stuff, they're pretty cool. And we got Neil deGrasse Tyson coming up here in a few too, FYI, on Emperor Atheist's channel.
So I just came a little. You said what now?
Okay, for the record, I am in here twice. Once on the mobile, once on the computer, so it's not a mobile issue.
Oh, so it's not a mobile issue. Okay.
Could be the user.
Yeah, it could be. In fact, that's what I'm going to lean towards. Fix your fucking phone.
Give me the link one more time in the group chat, and I'll give it to Mike right now on the G+.
Okay. I'll try both links here. So first link, try this one. And for the other link, try this one. So yeah, let's see. All right, just trying to make it all work.
Yeah, I'll send it to him in a second. I'll put both links in, and they can see which one works.
Yes, I understand you're not on mobile 10-4 Apricot. No, I'm not inviting you because fuck you.
Who's the flat earther you're supposed to get?
Apparently somebody by the name of Truth Seeker.
Did they follow over? I don't think so.
Well, Tony is actually talking to Truth Seeker right now, and they're trying to get them in. I'm just trying to see if... yeah. Yes, I understand my mic is absolute shit, like I said.
Truth Seeker think butterflies prove flat Earth? Because I really want to dive into
No, he's going to go with dragonflies instead.
He's gonna go dragonfly. Well, wow, that's even a bigger. That's a hard.
Yeah, that's the joke because they're much more agile in the air.
Damn it.
The most successful predator in existence.
They are vicious.
No, they 95% of their of the prey they target they catch.
Do you know how they mate too? They're pretty.
Yeah, in the air.
In the air, yeah, and they stick it there. You know, was it the?
I literally have a picture of it on my wall,
like a needle, and yeah, it's pretty rough.
Okay. Yeah, try. No, for fuck's sake.
And they can like withstand 30 Gs.
Gee, I can't enter a fucking Google Hangout call when I'm already in a fucking Hangout. God damn it. Starting to get actually annoying at this point.
Hey, Reds, did you happen to see the next potential nominee for 2018's Dumb Fuck of the Year called? His name was Pilot something or other, and he was having a discussion with Skylar Fiction on the presuppositionalism of astrology.
Oh man, that was special.
It was epic.
He
had a follow-up video. Did you see that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Ugh.
I think the crux is he doesn't understand that saying that you need to presuppose something isn't actually an argument; it's just a statement.
But the greatest part of that whole thing was he was doing presuppositional apologetics and didn't even realize it.
Yeah,
for astrology.
For astrology,
because the Earth is a planet or a star or something.
It just means it just literally shows you can stick in anything for presupposing X and running the same stupid argument.
I love.
I have to address chat real quick.
Yeah,
T4, he says he's that Reds is pissed because he sent Hannah nudes. Not so much because you're not supposed to send pictures of your mom.
Oh.
Why not? I like mom nude pics. At my age, that's all I can get any longer.
Now there's going to be a big stream of I Heart MILFs.
I got women sending me nudes and their gilfs at my age, so whatever.
Okay, now Truth Seeker's in here.
Wait, should we mute or is
Micro? Do me a favor. Shut the fuck up for a second.
Sorry.
Truth, can you hear us?
You see the asphalt operations I'm overseeing?
Sounds good. Okay, so apparently you want to get in here for some reason. So what's on your mind?
sorry. What are you guys debating? Where do you stand?
Actually, I didn't hear a single word you just said. Was he cutting out for
It
everyone
was
else? Or
robotic.
Yeah.
It was robotic.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you in like a really bad area or something?
He's on an Android, and he's in a bad area. He probably not even. Is he using his data plan or on a Wi-Fi hotspot?
Yeah. Also, Tony just messaged me back. He says, "Oh, it's just him. His phone sucks." Okay, so at least we found out the reason why. Why Tony
Yeah, I think
can't join us.
that's what it is. His phone.
Well, and there's not much point to it, is it? If we can't hear him.
Yeah, there really isn't. Damn it. Truth, I'm gonna let you stay in the hangout, but try to find some way to get a better connection or connect to Wi-Fi because you're very robotic and we can't hear you at all.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm mobile. I work a 9 to 5. I got to deal with the shitty service.
That's actually better right there.
It's actually much better right now.
So. Okay. Well, not great, but it was better.
Okay,
I understand you.
Let's try this. Okay, so truth seeker. So let me ask you, what truth are you seeking?
Objective truth, wherever it leads me. I'm not worried about my ego or preconceived notions.
Okay, so where has truth led you so far?
It's led me to basically find out over 6 figures worth of indoctrination was a whole bunch of bullshit, and most of my stuff that I considered to be fact was a lie or a myth.
What are some of the most notable ones?
Oh, heliocentrism, gravity, free energy, a lot of stuff around those lines.
Okay, well, I don't know of any school that taught us that free energy was fact, because that's bullshit. But let me ask you something. What's your let's start with like the shape of the Earth, because that's one of the big sticking points that we all go. What's your opinion on the shape of the Earth? Where do you stand on it?
I don't claim to know the shape. The only thing I am claiming is it's not the current sphere of the radius that they're claiming, because we can't see any physical curvature, anything like that. I don't claim to know the shape. I'm not ignorant enough to claim that.
Okay, so then gravity. What about gravity rubs you the wrong way?
As far as I know, gravity is an unproven theory.
You know you can't prove theories, right?
Oh yeah. Can you name a theory that's ever been proven? Out of curiosity.
No, that's my stance. You asked me for my stance. I gave it. I'm not trying to.
Well, no, I'm asking. Do you ever?
And we're asking follow-up questions.
Right. Do you know of any theory that's ever been proven? What do you say?
I don't know if that was a reply, but you're. Can you try one more time? Do you know of any theory that has ever been proven?
Of course I do.
Can you give us an example?
Truth, tell them about the drones. Tell them about your drone experiment.
Okay.
Well, no, I want.
Tony, don't make him jump ships.
Yeah, seriously, Tony.
I really want to hear this.
We'll get to that in a moment. I still want to answer this question though. Steve, would you mind repeating the question?
Sure. Can you give us a name of a theory that's ever been proven?
I actually can.
Sorry, I'm losing.
Yeah, we're not going to get anywhere with them having a
shit. I think connection-wise is
connection-wise, it's not gonna go anywhere. I don't think.
Damn Illuminati is trying to hide the truth from us.
Yeah, somebody else said they could actually give us one. Who was the other? Who said that?
That was me.
Yeah, go for it.
Theory of heavier than air flight.
Theory? You mean theory of butterflies?
Well, of course that plays into it, but at one time, heavier than air flight was unsuccessful yet theoretical.
There you go. I agree with that. I agree with that.
That's not a scientific theory, by the way. Scientific theory is something that is actually a umbrella of ideas and experiments. It's a catch-all.
It's a model with both explanatory and predictive capabilities.
Wait a minute. I got a question for Steve.
Yeah.
Mr. Intelligent Design just said GR is one theory that is proven many times, but the Earth is flat and it is science. Can I just ban this guy right now?
Oh, I don't give a shit what you do with ID. He's a troll.
All right, good. That's
Was
what I
that
was
Mr.
thinking.
ID?
You guys want to hear my drone experiment?
Oh, please.
I actually want to hear the answer to the question.
Yeah, one of the conditions in science for theories is that they are unprovable for a reason. So to say that something is a proven theory doesn't make sense in science because no scientific theory can ever be proven. It's not
just
a
like
mathematical.
there's no such thing. There's also no consensus in science. You hear that all the time.
There's always a consensus in
There's
certain things.
There's always some kind of consensus.
Yeah.
There's no consensus in flat Earth.
Yeah, I agree. You got people saying they know the shape, they don't know the shape. It's infinite. I agree. Yeah, there's domes, there's ice walls.
But
I don't know any scientists
that's
to
hardly
say
an
that.
arguing point, though.
Yeah, I don't know any scientists to say any of those things. I know the shape.
Here. I'm a scientist. I'm a professional practicing engineering geologist, and I believe that. So there you go. I just changed your.
Oh yes, I forgot to say he's yes, he's a geologist, and he has a degree. If anyone wants to ask.
Engineering, geology.
Well, engineering and geology are two different degrees.
Are you a surveyor or are you a geologist?
No, I got a bachelor's in geology, master's in civil engineering, and then right now I inspect construction, civil engineering construction.
No, that's cool. You got force weights motion.
Yeah, so I went to space camp when I was little. I've actually worked with Matthew Lamana. He's the large vertebrate paleontologist at Carnegie Museum. He's even told me to stay away from being a paleontologist and all things dinosaurs. That always kind of left me questioning why a man of his prestige wouldn't want me to pursue in his path. And, I've just kind of been on the path of truth since.
Okay, so
So the conspiracy started with you then. The conspiracy started with you.
Okay,
I'm
curious.
started with my realization of
I'm curious.
No,
though.
as soon as you figured it out, then all of a sudden it's a conspiracy to everyone.
For the sake of the bandwidth, guys, one at a time. At least try it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Steve go here. Steve, go ahead.
All right, so I'm curious. You've observed, you made observations. Then you obviously, by your background, know all about the scientific method. So you've made observations. You've yet to determine any kind of truth based upon those observations. And by the way, I do believe in objective truth. I'm not one of those people that think ideas are strictly subjective. I do believe that there is an objective truth, although that's not the same as saying absolute. I use the term objectivity to mean mind independent. So I do believe there's mind independent truths out there. Now, you as a scientist, have you made a hypothesis of what you think that the Earth's shape is, and develop an experimentation to determine if your hypothesis is correct or not?
No, but we're currently just at the point of debunking the current claim shapes because we can't make any claims.
But that doesn't help your case.
Proof. So we're starting with the institutions that have been making claims the last 100 or so years.
All right, so your goal is to provide negative evidence toward the established models that exist now rather than positive evidence.
Yeah, more or less, because we know right now we don't have any kind of technology or funding to prove the shape of the Earth.
And how can you compete it?
Yeah, you usually when you're doing something like a model, you do what's called is a competition. There, you basically have a parsimony. You ever heard of the law of parsimony?
No, I do not.
Okay, the law of parsimony basically says if you have two hypotheses that are competing with each other that have equal explanatory power, you take the one with the less amount of assumptions. You basically want to be able to substitute your idea to replace an existing idea. Just shooting down an existing idea isn't really what they do in science.
Yeah, okay, I'd agree with that. Less assumptions, the better.
Can I get in here real quick because I want to just try and posit something. You're saying we don't have the technology to know the shape of the Earth. I'm assuming you're one of those people that don't believe that anything's in space that can actually have that viewpoint to begin with, right?
Yeah, because all of that knowledge is secondhand and can never be verified firsthand.
Okay, what about my images of the International Space Station?
I've looked through telescopes up at the same object that, we're both, I can at least agree we're both looking at the same object because it's been told to me that it's the ISS, but I have never seen anything self-verified that's told me that it's actual space station.
Yeah, well, if we are looking at this object that is the ISS, and that is evidence on the side that the ISS is actually up there, would you agree that that's a point at the very least?
Yeah, we're both looking at the same thing spinning. I just don't think it's the ISS, and you'll believe the secondhand knowledge that it is. That's the difference between me and you.
Well, the difference is that the difference between me and you is that it's actually firsthand knowledge, and you're defining it as secondhand.
No, it actually is secondhand because I know for a fact you were not on the list of members that went up to the ISS. So the fact that you're lying and trying to assert that was firsthand information loses a lot of credibility in my camp.
The observation was firsthand, is what he said.
Yeah, and I have the same exact observation. I've even seen things that people told me were the satellite wings sticking out. But I don't know that that's the ISS. I think it could just be an object.
Satellite? No. Hang on. My turn, Bruce. My turn. Here's the thing. Before you claim that someone is lying, it would actually be very beneficial to your side to let them finish what they were saying, because you do not know in which way I was going with that. So
well, you just claim to have firsthand knowledge, and I know that you're not on the list of ISS members.
So that's what you have to be to have firsthand knowledge. Okay, in what way was I claiming firsthand knowledge? Was going up there going to be one of the things?
We seem to have a misunderstanding of firsthand knowledge. Let's define that right now.
Firsthand knowledge is the investigation that you do yourself. Now, what if I told you that I was actually there to view the International Space Station, not only through powerful telescopes, well, much more powerful than what I could fucking afford, but let's say I was also there when a certain signature was written on a picture that I was there when it was taken. For example, an astronaut hanging outside of the fucking ISS.
Okay, so I don't really get your argument. You have images through your telescope that show astronauts hanging out this object that we're both looking at?
Well, they're not exactly hanging outside the ISS. They're more like floating, or in a state of continuous free fall, whatever you want to say. But yes, they're actually there. And so you're basically telling me that, oh, okay, so unless you actually go there, you can't verify it. No, I wasn't going to go there, but we can verify it because now we have optical tools and equipment that give us the capability of verifying this shit for ourselves. Yes, it was luck of the draw, but luck was on my side that day. Wouldn't you agree?
No, I wouldn't agree with that. I would agree that you can believe anything you want to believe, but for me to believe it, I would need firsthand at least knowledge or evidence or some sort of participation and accountability in this topic.
So until you go there, then there's no ISS.
Yeah, basically.
No, I'm not claiming that there is an ISS or there isn't.
Basically, by your definition, it's like you're not going to believe it unless you have firsthand knowledge. And by the way, you define firsthand knowledge as being on the list to go there yourself. Basically, you're not going to believe jack shit until I strap your ass to a rocket.
But that's only because so much of my information that has been spoon-fed to me has been shown to be a complete fabrication of secondhand myths. So
you're doing a great job demonstrating that, though.
It's only after finding out that such a large portion of my information is unaccounted for secondhand, recitations and parodies.
Can you give us an example?
Well, you shouldn't eat.
Wait, guys, I've been very patient. What's your biggest shock? What was the thing that was most shocking to you? That had the biggest impact?
I've been studying conspiracies for years, and I known certain conspiracies were fact, but there was no way to connect the dots. Flat Earth connects everything. Easily.
Well, wait. Okay, before you just said you don't know the shape of the Earth. Now you're advocating a flat Earth position.
Well, no, I'm not saying it's flat Earth, but the absence of the claimed curvature.
Okay, then what have you found out? What Dress has asked. What have you found out was a complete shocker that you were spoon-fed and taught that you find to be absolutely wrong?
The horizon always rises to eye level. And trust me,
it doesn't.
It doesn't.
Since then, I've got a theodolite. No, trust
wait.
me.
One thing at a time. Truth.
He has a theodolite. He has a theodolite, guys.
Okay. So, one thing at a time.
Yeah, because I wanted firsthand experiences.
All right. So Truth. You say that the horizon rises to eye level, right? That's a shocker.
It appears to rise to eye level.
Okay, and you're stating that. Can you give us evidence why you think that?
I used to make video game levels in my free time, and so I thought about that observation, and I knew in a computer model that observation wouldn't be observed unless the computer was making a level so close to infinite that it was perceiving as the level was so large that it was infinitely large. So that was one of the first things. I mean, the first thing that shocked me was just the fact that we're motionless. I believed everything. I believed we were spinning. I believed all of that stuff. So to really get grounded back to your five senses is a glorious thing. It breaks the spell.
So you have more than five senses.
Right now, we're talking about horizon going to eye level.
We're talking about horizon scope going to eye level. We'll talk about how your senses are wrong in a moment.
Yeah, well, his whole, unfortunately, his whole epistemic framework is based solely upon empiricism.
No,
he has an evidentialist point of view that he doesn't seem to think that any kind of knowledge can be grounded from any other type of position other than evidentialism.
Secondhand knowledge is incorrect, because clearly there is secondhand knowledge that can be factually, objectively true. But after finding out that so much of my knowledge that was spoon-fed to me was
You haven't given an example of that. The one example you gave, all of us disagree. We all think that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level.
We can disagree. We can disagree all we want, but I'm looking at the evidence and moving it forward. It seems like this one's
what evidence?
What we're saying is none of us were taught that. So I
was never taught that. I never even heard that phrase until I met
I've had to do many things. I've done drone experiments. I've done other stuff.
So I'm still trying to find out what was the biggest shock to you. You really haven't told me that. You just given a half dozen vague kind of.
He gets a lot of feelings.
He did answer that. He said it was the horizon always rising to eye level, and he's trying to avoid that.
There's basically debunked all the evidence of heliocentrism, and we are the center of this known world.
Truth, but you were saying that you were spoon-fed stuff. So you were spoon-fed that the horizon doesn't rise to eye level, or that it does?
No, actually, oddly enough, I was never even taught about things like horizon observations. You know what? I went through all that schooling and never even heard the words.
Well, then why are you answering the question about what you were spoon-fed as an example for something you weren't taught?
Because
that's a good point.
I went through 4 years of geology schooling, and to even bring up anything that went outside of the textbooks, you were laughed at, you were scorned, you were made to feel like you were an outcast. And I just think that's one of the most intellectually dishonest ways.
You completely missed the bigger picture of what I just said, didn't you?
That's what he does. It's truth. What's up, Truth?
Bigger picture.
Okay, here's the thing, Truth. Listen, I'm just going to say this right now. I don't care about your education. I don't care about what you were spoon-fed. I don't care how it made you feel. The only thing that we're looking for is actual evidence.
So that's where I'm starting at. So I'm not making any claims. I'm just starting with the people that have been making claims.
But you are making claims.
You are making claims.
That we live on a spinning ball that goes 40 miles per hour at the equator.
Truth, you know what a claim means? A claim means you're making a propositional statement that you hold to be true, or false, as long as it's a true proposition.
Are you denying that the consensus?
If you're saying, listen to me, Truth. If you say, listen, I know what I'm talking about on this, Truth.
Listen to him, Truth. Listen to him.
If you're making a claim that the ball Earth is wrong, you're saying that the proposition the Earth is round is false. That is a claim. That is a statement for a truth-apt proposition that you are saying comports with reality. That is the state affairs of the universe. To say that's not a claim is a misunderstanding of what a claim actually is. A positive or negative claim is still a claim requiring a burden of justification and evidence or truth or something to validate it. It's called a warrant. So you have data, then you have a warrant that takes the data.
I have data.
Oh, I can't. I hate it when I get interrupted. I'm trying to explain something to somebody and you interrupt. Why do you do that, Truth?
Because you let me finish my point. You're going off grandstanding off something that
you haven't made a point, Truth.
You have not made a point. This is what we're telling you.
You keep deflecting the points that I'm making because you don't want to address.
You haven't made a point yet, Truth. You haven't made a point yet.
Hang on. I'm going to make this very, very easy. All of you mute except for Steve and Truth. And if any of you interrupt these two, I am booting your ass. Go ahead, Steve.
All right, let's look at the proposition. Let's say P equals the Earth is round. Is that true or false? Or do you just spend judgment on it?
I didn't come on here to debate semantics or grammar. I actually wanted to present my evidence.
These are neither. These are not semantical discussions, nor is it a debate.
I'm not trap of debating on what's a prepositional argument or whatnot.
It's not a preposition, it's a proposition.
I came here to present evidence of reality, like my drone experiment or many other simple things that are really easy, and I spread them to people every time I go to a new job site, and they're more than happy to listen and understand them. You guys seem like you want to do anything but that.
I'm asking you a very simple question. How do you evaluate that proposition?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't even know the definition of a preposition, bro.
You have a degree in engineering and you don't know what a proposition is?
Dude, I know it's a statement. I mean, I don't know the definition of it, bro. I'm not gonna pretend I do. I'm an engineering person. I didn't study grammar. I failed a lot of English classes.
We can talk about maths too if you like.
No, you know what? I've lost a lot of respect for math too in the last couple of years.
So math doesn't work.
No, math works, but math it's disingenuous for you to claim that math isn't a language and it's only as good as its creator and its intention.
Well, okay. First of all, I do think math is in some ways a language, but not a linguistic form.
Yeah. So
But-
if I
but
go on
math-
my keyboard, and start slamming all the letters together and make a big word salad, is that me using it effectively or what? Because
Okay, is that how you go? Is that how you did your math work? When you did a Taylor series, did you form a specific way of doing it, or do you actually just throw numbers into that that summation?
What's that?
Do you know what
Sorry,
a,
you
do
cut
you know
out.
what a summation is?
Sorry, you're still cutting out. Repeat. Sorry.
Do you know what a summation is?
No, I do not.
Okay. Do you know what a Taylor series is?
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. I don't, not off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't use it. So you
All
don't
right.
use it, you lose it.
Wow. Okay. Reds, I don't even know where
look,
this
dude,
guy.
I don't. First off, what are you guys doing right now? Look, if you can't hear all the trucks backing up, I'm in the real world working a real job with real people. I don't have a dictionary. I don't have Wikipedia up. I don't have.
What we're
but I
doing is
can
we're
hear
telling
some-
the truth, something that you don't seem to be able to do.
Hang on. I'll go. All right. So now it's just my turn now. And if any of you guys interrupt me or him, then I'm booting your ass. Okay, that goes for you too, Steve. Fucking cocksucker.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. So anyway, just so you know, yeah, you're out in the field working a real job. I have a real job too. This just happens to be my day off. Okay, granted. So the question is that I want to know you brought up math. What's your big problem with math?
Just like language. Language is only good if the person's intentions are pure and the communication is effective. Math is not some wholly untouchable, like, fountain of knowledge. I mean, like you guys claim it.
So
it's only as good as its creator.
So let's say that math was created by the most evil, fucked up person like Stalin or Hitler or something like that, and he said 2 + 2 = 4. Is the math wrong because he was a horrible person?
Of course not.
Okay, so why is it only as good as its creator then?
Because math is only good at assuming things. It can get really close, but it's never going to get all the way there.
Okay, so
you understand what the math's talking about.
So what you're saying is calculating something to no greater position than what is required is flawed in some way?
No, but using it to make a false model fit a different reality is intentionally dishonest, and that's what's being done.
If we agree that math comports with reality and we can demonstrate it by, scaling up, for example,
how about we just agree with reality? Why does math even need to get brought up? How about we just agree with reality? I don't think math it overcomplicates something very, very simple and emotionless.
So what you're saying is math does not comport to reality. Can you give me an example?
Yeah, the spin of the Earth. The current model of the globe claims if I go to the equator, I should observe about 1,040 miles per hour of translated motion. And yet, when I go near the equator with my drone, I never observe any of this. I actually even can prove that I can detach my velocity from the supposed spin and still never observe when I go into a hover maneuver. That debunks the motion for me, for anybody.
Oh, okay. So
it debunks the motion in reality.
I'm going to ask you.
It doesn't use any mathematics, and it doesn't require any secondhand blind faith source.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you that. Yeah, anyone can verify it, and you're missing one thing. How does what you just said debunk the rotation of the Earth?
No, okay. I think you're trying to change the argument. So let's just keep it even more simple than that.
Please tell me how anything you just said debunks the rotation of the Earth. No, nothing.
I think his connection has kind of muted him a little bit on its own because he was fading out the last thing he was saying.
He was talking to a work colleague. That's why he was fading out.
Yeah, he was talking to someone.
Okay.
But good times, though. Good times. I'm glad this works.
Hang on. He's back. Okay, so tell me again. How does anything you just said debunk the rotation of the Earth?
So I start with a much simpler thing. They claim that it's spinning. That means that there is motion, and motion must be observed. All motion must be observable. So this is where I kick math out the window, and I start with the observations. I don't like math. I don't think, you know, most people I meet on job sites, they don't like math either.
Okay.
They've been talked down to most of their life, like they're too stupid to understand it. So they really respect my arguments and where I come at, because I make them feel like they're intelligent and they're capable of understanding these concepts. Because it's very simple.
I really don't care about people's feelings, and I think that's your problem, not mine. My question still stands. How does anything you just said debunk the rotation of the Earth?
Okay, because I've proven that my drone can do every maneuver to detach its velocity, and still no motion is observed when I go into a long-term hover.
Okay, so let me ask you this. What medium is your drone using in order to maintain a hover? What medium is it going through?
I would say it's going to the ether. I guess you would say the atmosphere?
Ether. No. It's. Are you saying the propellers of the drone run off the fucking okay, hang on. Breathe. Okay. Would you say it's the air?
No, I say the ether. I'm assuming you would say the atmosphere or the air. I say the ether. I think I might be a little bit more privy to knowledge than you are. But continue.
About the fucking ether. Right. Okay. So let's say the air. Okay. If the drone is going through the air, and that means that relative to the air, the drone would not be moving if it's in a hover, right?
Well, correct. And so real quick, let's define this too. Would it take more energy to go against the spin than with it? Just think in vectors and exactly perpendicular. Not perpendicular. Exactly.
I'm trying to get somewhere. I'm trying to get somewhere. I want to know what you actually think, and I'm not going to get there if you keep derailing. Okay? Help me understand you. That's what I'm trying to do here.
I think all motion must be observed. There is a clear lack of motion in all observations using my drone.
Okay, we get it. I'm trying to ask some questions here. You have to work with me here, okay? So, if your drone if the only way that your drone can move is with a medium, okay? So it's going through the air. So relative to the air,
the air is claimed to be going a specific direction. The air is claimed to be spinning a specific direction.
Okay, hang on. Now, if it's going relative to the air and it's not moving relative to the air, what if I said that the air is also moving with the spinning Earth, therefore it wouldn't change its position wherever you are on the equator?
I can go with most of that, due to inertia. But what's clear is that there is a directional motion that translates to a force near the equator of 1,040 miles per hour. Now, this must be observed if it is indeed there.
Okay, how is it going to be observed when your reference point is moving with it?
Because my drone can move in all directions freely with equal energy, proving that it's not attached to any supposed velocity or spin.
Yeah, but
just listen, let me finish. Because if my drone was attached to a spin, it would take much more energy to fly against the spin than with it. And that's easily demonstrable.
Yeah, not if the medium is actually moving with the spinning Earth.
Yeah, so that supposes that the medium is moving. It would take much more energy.
No, it supposes that the medium that it's moving through is not moving relative to the Earth. Therefore, it actually wouldn't take any more energy to move to the left or to the right.
So it's either moving or it's not. You keep going back and forth. Is it moving or is it not?
The question is, when you are making your observation, what reference point are you basing your observation off of? That is the question.
Before I make any reference points, I first test to see if there is a motion. That is done by flying my drone in all directions. Listen, this is done by flying my drone in all directions with equal energy, moving equal distances, proving there is no supposed spin or motion of the Earth. Because if there were, one direction against the motion would require way more energy than it would flying with it.
Yeah, it's very simple that if the atmosphere is moving with the rotating Earth and your drone is using that medium to actually fly, then of course it's going to use equal amounts of energy to fly to the left, to the right.
I've demonstrated. But I've also demonstrated that the drone is not attached at any velocity because it can fly in 360 degrees in every direction using equal energy, moving equal distances.
No,
that is an easy observation. Anybody can read
the only thing that you've demonstrated is that a drone moving in a medium that's rotating with the Earth is not gonna require any more electricity or any more energy, as you said, to move to the left or to the right relative to your position on the Earth.
But if there is motion, it requires more energy to go against the motion than with it, and that is
not if the medium is rotating with the Earth. Not if the medium is rotating with the Earth.
Yes, if the medium is rotating with the Earth, there still must be more energy moving against the supposed spin.
How do you figure? If you're using the medium in the first place, then how is it that the medium is all of a sudden negated?
Because motion must be observed. That is a law. That is a law of observation.
You keep saying motion needs to be observed, but you keep saying that before you even defined a reference point.
I know the reference point. The reference point.
What is the reference point? That's why I asked you. You said before you make a reference point, you have to observe motion. Well, obviously you can't observe motion unless you establish a reference point to begin with.
Okay, I understand where you're getting at. Okay, yeah. So I use the Earth, but see.
Okay, so if your reference point is the Earth and the atmosphere is moving with the Earth, then relative to you, the atmosphere will not be moving. And if your drone is using that medium in the first place, then it will require equal amount of energies to move in all directions relative to you. That's exactly what we would expect.
No, it isn't, because here's what we don't.
It isn't because you say so.
Here's what we don't find. So here's an easy one. Why don't we see the spin on Earth? Why don't we see it? Can you answer that one?
Because we're moving with it.
Okay, so then where is the magical line where if you dip below it, you're motionless, but if you go above it, you're an astronaut sitting on the moon with the best vantage point ever, and you can see that fucker spinning around? I want to know where that magical line is.
Apparently,
find where that magical line is.
Apparently, you don't know how orbits work, so we'll tackle that one right now then. Okay,
no,
so
you just asserted that I can't see the motion of the Earth on the Earth, but if I was standing on the moon, I could see that blue marble spinning around and around.
Yeah,
so
my assertion doesn't place you on the moon now, does it? Basically, what you did was you crafted a very clever straw man, which I'm going to assert is not clever at all, and tried to assert it as what I just said.
So would you let's get something? You can't see the spin of the Earth on the Earth. If hypothetically, if I'm standing on the moon, would I observe the spin of the Earth?
If you were standing on the moon, would you be able to observe the spin of the Earth relative to what?
Relative to standing on the moon, which is stuck, in a whatever synchronicity orbit you guys claim. So
yeah, it would be rotating. That is correct. You would actually see the Earth rotate.
Okay. So thank you. So if I go a mile off the surface, would I still see the Earth rotate?
It depends. Are you still moving with the Earth, or are you going to be stationary relative to what?
You're still going to be stationary to the moon.
Okay, so if you want to go relative to the moon, so basically, if you were able to move at such a speed as you can keep the moon at the same part of the sky all the time, every time, then you would see the Earth rotate underneath you.
But how come whenever I independently hover myself in a helicopter or something, I never get above that magical line?
Because you're hovering with the atmosphere. The key word that you're using there is hover. Because when a helicopter is set to hover, it's hovering relative to the air around it. If that medium is already moving with the Earth to begin with, then you will be moving with the Earth to begin with. The problem that you're having here is reference points. In order for you to actually understand what it is you're trying to do, you first have to establish a reference point to begin with. And you're jumping from the Earth to the moon to the atmosphere, and I'm sure the sun's going to come into this later.
Yeah, that's what any objective mind would do. They wouldn't just use one medium. They would use all mediums at their disposal.
But not know how they all comport with each other. They're going to use all these mediums, but they're going to jump around within the same argument at the exact same time.
Well, I just want to know where that magical line is. Clearly, I'm below it. But clearly, someone standing on the moon like Neil Armstrong is above it. We just need to define where that magical line is, where you can, hey, look, I'm above it. That thing is spinning.
There is no line. There is no line. That's your problem.
I'm just a little ant on a big ball that can never perceive anything. I mean, that's kind of what we're left with. And it's like, man, those are very disingenuous arguments.
Disingenuous in what way? Just because they don't agree with your worldview?
No, because they're not. They don't follow the rationale of a real objective scientist or any kind of person that's interested in pursuing truth.
So in order to pursue truth, I need to jump around to different reference points within the same argument, not understand relative motion, and then jump around to the moon because fuck logic.
No, logic would actually dictate that you start analyzing the moon. Your lack of logic and over-trusting in secondhand sources is what led you to the mythical world and models that we're discussing today.
Did I reference anyone else besides my own understanding in this conversation we've been having? You keep saying that I go to these overseeing overlords. I'm sorry, did I reference any of them?
My apologies. I must have made an assumption there.
Yeah, you did. I'm just trying to understand where you're coming from, and I'm trying to see if there's an error here. And I believe I found it. The error is that we are having a problem when it comes to our viewpoints. When it comes, I mean, like our reference point, if you will. Because if you are looking at the Earth relative to the moon, then yes, the Earth's going to be rotating, but at a different speed relative to you. If you're looking at the Earth relative to the sun, then the Earth's going to be rotating at a different speed because the moon in its orbit.
Okay, yeah, I agree with that.
If you're looking at it relative to the Earth, well, because you're spinning with it, then your velocity, your speed relative to the Earth is zero because you're moving with the Earth at that point. The problem is that in order to first figure out if there's motion, you need to establish a reference point. By you telling me that you never established a reference point in the first place leads me to believe that you are looking at this all wrong to begin with.
No, I think the people that are starting with motion are the ones that are actually doing this all wrong to begin with, because they're starting with an assumption and trying to prove it, and that's not science.
Okay, well, how do you believe that the Earth's rotation is an assumption?
Because I've done the experiments myself to prove that there is no motion.
No, you've done an experiment to say that if the Earth was moving, that an object using the atmosphere that's also rotating with the Earth will have a velocity of zero relative to it when it's in hover. That doesn't disprove the rotation of the Earth. That just means that if anything, that if the Earth is rotating, that the atmosphere is rotating with it. No, it doesn't.
Because all motion must be observed.
You keep saying that, but I'm not sure you know what you actually mean by that. When you say that, what are you trying to say?
Exactly. I know that if the Earth was spinning at the speeds they claimed, it would be proven in a second. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. The fact that we're having this conversation shows that the archaic tactics of just sticking programming into my brain and just telling me to believe it, better believe it, that's not working anymore. We're in a new paradigm.
That's fine that facts don't work with you. I'm not trying to make them work. I'm trying to find out where you're coming from. Now,
no, I basically just said brainwashing doesn't work anymore. I didn't say facts. I said brainwashing.
No. What you are defining as brainwashing, I'm defining as facts, because everything that we have been.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, that's something we can agree on. Your facts are brainwashing. That's something we can totally agree on.
No. What you're calling brainwashing, I'm calling facts, because the way I'm able to show it,
we can go rewind this, but you just said your facts are brainwashing. That's a contention both of us agree on. I love it.
All right, you can go ahead and put words in my mouth. I'll let you deal with that. So let me go ahead and go on with this, because what you're telling me is that by your misunderstanding about how we gauge speed and relative motion, by your misunderstanding of how drones work in an atmosphere that's rotating with the Earth, that therefore the rotation is flawed.
You're assuming that it's rotating with the Earth. My experiment uncovered that there is no rotation. You should really
No. What I'm saying is that your experiment doesn't go either way. If the Earth was stationary and the atmosphere was stationary with it, that would equal the same result with your. Hang on, let me finish.
Yes, I knew that's where you were going. I just didn't want to finish.
Let me finish. If you have an Earth that is stationary, and the atmosphere is stationary with it, your drone will be able to do everything that it's able to do right now. If the Earth was rotating, but the atmosphere was rotating with it, your drone would be able to do everything that it gets to do right now. What you claim is an observation doesn't go for or against the notion of does the Earth rotate or not. That's why I'm having a problem with this. Hang on. You're acting as though this is evidence for something, when in fact it's evidence for nothing other than the fact that relative to the Earth, the atmosphere is more or less stationary and with it.
Yeah. So basically, like going back to your theory of before, let's just stick with the one that has the least amount of assumptions, which is mine. Because yours is assuming movement, it's assuming this, it's assuming all this stuff. Mine has the least amount of assumptions. I'm gonna stick with mine.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it just starts with the frame of reference that all of us use, the Earth. Okay? Your theories and claims involve assumptions which are all secondhand and untestable. So yeah, so I'm gonna stick with the one that has the least amount of assumptions, which is that we're motionless and stationary. Even you at the beginning of this would agree with that.
Oh yeah, I agree. We should stick with something that has the least amount of assumptions. That's why I automatically fall back on my point, because my point has the least amount of assumptions. Yours actually has the most, because you're simply assuming that everything that has been told to you is a lie from the pit of hell or whatever the hell may be. All right, that is an assumption that actually needs to back it up.
But you're the one assuming our stationary and motionless reality.
I'm the one assuming what about the supposed reality that doesn't exist? Because, in my opinion, I'm not assuming anything that would, like, oh, I don't know, break the known laws of physics like the speed of light.
If I can tally up Occam's razor on this.
Hello?
Yep, you're back. Okay. What were you saying I was assuming about some sort of reality or whatever?
So we all agree, whether you think the frame of references, we can disagree on frame of references, but we're motionless. In all reality, we're stationary and motionless. So I just want to know where you get off adding an assumption that we're moving. Because you're adding an extra assumption that my argument doesn't include. So your argument actually has more assumptions than mine.
I'm just trying to understand where you get off on calling established scientific fact an assumption.
No, because we're actually no. We can get to that right after this. But we're
actually getting into that right now, because that's the crux of the issue.
Can I tell you?
I know you don't want to expose. I know you don't want to expose this. You're conflicting yourself. But you just said, with the frame of references, in our reality, we're stationary and motionless. So I want to know why you're adding an extra assumption into an already low assumption thing. Why are you adding the assumption that we're spinning the ball?
Your misunderstanding of what I just said does not negate what I just said, just so that we're clear.
No, but
I said that. Hang on. No, I tell you to hang on, because this is my hangout. I make the fucking rules. So when it comes down to the supposed assumptions I made, I did not say anything that contradicted myself. I said relative to the Earth, you are not moving. If you were on the moon, then you would be moving relative to the Earth. If you were looking at this from the vantage point of the sun, then the Earth would be rotating. It depends on which reference point you are starting from. Your drone does not prove shit. The only thing that it proves is that the atmosphere, whether the Earth is motionless or spinning, that the atmosphere, either way, is moving with it, because you are using the atmosphere as the medium at which your drone travels. So, if you are going to give me that as your only piece of evidence to dictate to me that the supposed rotation of the Earth is a big lie, a fabrication, a lie from the pit of hell, as some people would say, I'm sorry, your shit is not convincing.
Okay, I absolutely love you, sir. Now, all I want to say is my argument actually has less assumptions than yours. So why are you dismissing that? You're adding extra assumptions in that my argument doesn't have. I agree with the frame of references. All of reality shows we're stationary, motionless. So I want to know why you're adding an extra assumption when you claimed it's better to go with the theories with the least amount of assumptions, which is you're not doing right now.
Yeah, I am going with the theory for the least amount of assumptions. That's why I'm not going with yours, because you have to assume past literally every single established fact. Hang on. I'm answering your question.
Hold on.
I am answering your question. You need to shut up and actually hear the answer. Okay? You asked me, why am I not going with the one that has the least amount of assumptions? Answering that question, I actually am. This is why I don't follow your position, because your position has the most amount of assumptions. You are assuming that every single established piece of science is part of some big lie, conspiracy, or whatever you're trying to make it out to be. I don't actually see how that can be the case, given that whenever I tried to verify for myself, all the numbers check out. Hell, you even said that math was part of the conspiracy. That is another assumption that I am not going to follow
people
on.
have been abusing math. People have been abusing math, and to deny that, you lose
How do you
credibility when
abuse
make
math?
statements like that.
How do you abuse math?
It can be abused. Yes, it can. And to say that
No,
it can't
how
be,
do you
you're being
abuse
willfully
math?
ignorant.
How do you abuse math?
You made faulty equations. So that's how.
I made a faulty video.
False equation.
No, but
A
acting
false
like
equation.
math is an untouchable. That just shows that you don't even really understand what the math is. Math is just a method, a medium to explain your message. That's all it is. It's a language. And the fact that you're trying to say that this language is, on a pedestal, can't be touched, shows that you're being fully ignorant.
Okay, so if I use mathematics to show you, like, for example, the angular size of the sun.
No, I just real quick. I want to get back to what we were discussing, which is
No. Hang on. Every time you make an assertion, hang on, Truth. Every time you make an assertion, I'm going to ask you to back it up. The fact you haven't been able to says more about you than it does about me. So when you say that math is being placed on this pedestal and everything like that, well, guess what? Good math that has actually been verified, is put on that pedestal for that very fucking reason.
But has it verified?
You're breaking up again.
Math equations. They'll even make up new variables.
Truth, you're breaking up.
Reality.
Truth, you're breaking up.
Reg, since he's breaking up, I'm pretty sure there's a couple people that can really add to this. I know Sean and Sly have a couple things they want to say, because I don't think you can't read the group chat right now, can you, Reds?
I cannot, but I'll go ahead and do this. I'll go ahead and step back from this, and let's go to Sean Hufford. I give you the floor, and if anyone interrupts Sean and Truth, I am booting your ass. Go.
I'm going to keep it really simple. I've been keeping an Occam's Razor scoreboard. Occam's Razor dictates that if you have two equal theories, that the one with the least amount of assumptions is false. Well, Red actually has two assumptions in his theory, and that is that the Earth is in motion and the atmosphere is in motion with the Earth. Truth Seeker's assumptions: 1, the Earth is stationary; 2, the atmosphere is stationary; 3, everyone has lied about the shape of the Earth. That is an assumption. 4, it takes more energy to move the drone in Red's model, disregarding inertia. That's 4 assumptions compared to Red's 2.
When did I?
You have stated many times that it would take more energy to move in certain direct or to move against the rotation. That is an
When
assumption.
did I claim everybody was lying? I never said that. You're inserting false accusations in my arguments now. That's really disingenuous of you.
Spoon-fed,
indoctrination.
I never said everybody was lying. I never even claimed anybody was lying. That's so dishonest of you to claim.
That's what spoon-fed means.
and
Or
math
can you not
being a lie.
relate that? That's what spoon-fed means. Truth.
You've literally said spoon-fed so many times. Anyway.
Yes, you don't have to eat all the crappy stuff. If you eat something, if you're spoon-fed something and it doesn't taste good, you can spit it out. You know that, right? That's the same with knowledge.
Hey guys,
like,
have you ever
if
had
you
a
get fed some
discussion?
bullshit, you don't
You ever
have to
had some
think that.
discussion?
You could throw it aside and go to something more reasonable, right?
No.
Well,
You
isn't
ever
it
had
true though?
discussions with professors?
No, you
What
cut
they're
out. That's the
told.
last.
They just do what they're told.
We haven't been fed. We have been spoon-fed, but we have digested the stuff that's truth and moved on and find more truth. You have just sat there and spit stuff out.
I just wanted to
just
go
kept
over
eating.
the Occam's Razor countdown, and I'm going to pass it over to Sly.
Is that not a good
Sly wants to
point?
say something.
That's
Tony,
not a good point. Okay, all right.
I know you guys
That was
can't
a good point.
read that, so I'm keeping things in the group chat because I know you guys are on phones. So Sly would like to say something.
I'm just mad because he called me like a prostitute last time. So this is the last.
That's okay.
It's like the next time I've been able to talk to him. So.
Yeah, you're much more like a cheap whore than a prostitute. Yeah, go ahead, Sly.
Hey, Truth. I have a quick question for you. Now this whole thing is about who has the most assumptions and all that other stuff. Now, as what Sean was just saying there, the globe model presumes that or gives the assumption that the atmosphere is moving with the rotating Earth. The flat Earth model basically says that the atmosphere is stationary with a stationary Earth, right? So in that sense, we could say that we're both equal. But what if I were to tell you that there is a way that you can verify, because you said to Red that we're operating under the assumption that the Earth is rotating, and which I'm cool with that. With that, should I say, counterclaim? But right here on my screen, which is being presented right now, I did a simple video, and this is something you could do in your car, where I was driving at 100 kilometers an hour, tossing a shell up in the air, and letting that shell come back down. Okay, the shell itself has no propulsion, nothing like that. It's just I toss it up in the air, I let it come back down into my hand while driving at 100 kilometers an hour. Now, aside from all the things that in itself would prove, that eliminates the assumption that I'm moving by displaying that I'm moving. And the result is still the same. If I were to take your drone, if my car were a little bit larger, if I were to take your drone inside of that car and launch it up in the air, and then it moving forward, backwards, left, and right would make no difference if I was moving at 100 kilometers an hour, or if I was dead stop in a parking lot. Okay, that is that right there is eliminating one of the assumptions about what would be the difference if the Earth was moving or if the Earth was not moving, because you can verify that that car, at least in this video tossing the shell up in the air, is moving. Okay, and on the other point, I've been kind of chomping at the bit, and then I'll let you answer both of these. Okay,
that was a good point too. That was a good point, by the way.
Thank you. The other side of it is, you were asking about where is the line of difference between being able to see the Earth rotate and the Earth not rotating. What Red was trying to drive home to you is that in order to observe motion, you have to have a reference point of what is not moving, okay, or maybe your own observation point, okay. In other words,
I understand. I know.
Well, hold on. I'll let you answer all of this. But the what do you call it? If you're standing on the beach and watching an air show, okay, I used to go to air shows down in Florida, and you stand on the beach, you watch a plane go by, okay. Now, your point of reference is obviously your butt on the beach watching the plane fly by. That's how you know it's moving, is because you know you're not moving, okay. And now, when it comes down to a magical line or something like that, or some kind of a barrier, or some kind of a specific distance, there is none. Okay, it comes down to just the reference point, because I would notice that.
I know that's what he was attempting to describe. I know.
Right, and so basically, what it comes down to is if you are. That's why he asked you: are you geostationary when you're elevating above the Earth to observe rotation? Are you geostationary or are you lunar stationary? And if you're lunar stationary, then you will watch.
I actually completely understood.
Okay. Okay, so then, so that part is clear. There will never be an answer of a line or a specific elevation that you would have to be to observe the rotation of the Earth, but rather your reference to its rotation.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to get on that.
I understand the point he was trying to make. I just don't agree with it. But here, look, and just real quick.
Well, there's nothing to agree or disagree with. It's an observation.
Well, no, there is actually, real quick, because you keep saying these are two equal
Sure.
arguments, but they are not
go for it.
arguments. The globe argument has way more assumptions than the motionless stationary argument. The motionless stationary argument matches all of our frame of references that we all have given in our bodies. Anything that we can use to test, okay? My argument has way less assumptions than the spinning ball. And that really
but I just showed you can eliminate those assumptions.
You guys need to admit that before I even take anything else you say serious.
Well, truth, you have to understand that I just showed you how to eliminate one of those assumptions, which you hold so dear to it. And plus, while I'm sitting in that car, or let's say if I'm flying in an aircraft at 35,000 feet flying to Honolulu, okay, if I put down the windows, okay, if I close a little shade on the window and stuff like that, judging by my observations inside the cab of that aircraft, okay, I would not know that I'm moving 500 miles an hour at all. I would be pouring my creamer in my coffee, and watching a underpaid stewardess walk up and down the alleyways with a cart giving other people coffee.
We totally understand.
Nothing wrong with that.
We're in agreement with the frame of reference. We are in total agreement.
But you just said that we're not.
No, because your argument that you're presenting has more, because we're agreeing that whether we're moving or we're not, the reality in which we perceive appears to be motionless. Regardless of frame of reference, it is motionless by all observations.
but you
So
can't be regardless of frame of
when
reference.
Listen, when you present an argument that has anything other than motionless in it, you're adding assumptions that don't match reality and therefore have more assumptions than my simple claim.
And I totally agree.
So,
I totally agree. I totally agree.
Okay.
But however,
So
flying in
this
the
needs to be
aircraft,
addressed.
well, I am addressing it. Flying in the aircraft or riding in the car, you are eliminating one of those assumptions by giving to that particular observation
But in that
information.
scenario, there's actual motion that can be observed and tested. In this scenario,
Right, but you just said your
regardless of
senses.
references-
I don't feel like I'm going 500 miles an hour in a plane.
Well, no, but if I hovered a drone above that airplane, I'd see a freaking airplane scream by at 600 miles per hour, and I'd say, "Oh wow, this thing is moving."
The wind is going
That's because your hover
East Coast to Honolulu. It actually
Right.
moved. Okay, that's tested. It's confirmed. It moved.
Sly,
It wouldn't be that way
something
if
quick,
you
Sly?
shot the drone out the window when it was flying.
Wait a minute. Sly wasn't done yet.
You just changed the observational reference point by saying the drone flying over the plane. Okay, because the drone in hover, as you stated,
But is the plane
actually
moving?
no. Hold on.
Is the
Hold
plane
on.
moving?
Yes, of course the plane's moving.
So I didn't change anything. I'm just showing how you actually could demonstrate its movement.
Of course you can, but you demonstrate it from your point of observation.
So all objects moving must be observable.
Yes.
It's a simple claim. It's a simple
And
claim.
I totally agree with that.
So we know, judging from your reference point and my reference point, all of our reality is stationary and motionless. So
No.
I want to know why these guys get off making erroneous assumptions of.
I want to know why you get off.
All of our reality shows that we're motionless.
Hold on, he's
Sly.
I want to know how. I want to know how you get off by eliminating the fact that I just showed you. You can test the reference point.
No,
he's derailed by changing reference points, and you didn't catch it, Sly.
No,
Yeah,
I caught it, but he wouldn't let me get back to it.
From inside of the plane, you would not be able to tell it's in motion.
Of course, due to
Period.
inertia. I agree with that.
That's not inertia.
That's not inertia.
Yeah, that's inertia.
No,
you
inertia
jump
is a
up and land in the
resistance
same
of change
place
of vector.
because you built up the same velocity as the airplane. Come on.
That's
guys.
velocity, right? That's not inertia.
Exactly the point of.
You guys
it's the
don't
same-
even understand inertia, and you're trying to have.
Yeah, we kind of do. The inertia inertia is a property that if something has that matter has to change. It's to change in a vector.
So
Right? You have a
inertia
force.
isn't
You have
the
a force
reason why-
acting upon an object. Inertia means that a object would tend to stay in the same line of path that is going on unless acted upon by an outside exerted force. It doesn't
Okay,
want
so
to.
this is important because someone on the panel just said this isn't inertia. So when I jump up,
I said it's not
300
inertia
miles
because you're
per
not using
hour-
it
Hold
correct.
on, listen, let me finish. So when I'm standing in a constant velocity train or airplane, I jump up and land in the same spot that I jumped up from. That's not inertia? Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah, how is that inertia? What vector? Well, that's what I was going to ask. If can I ask him a question real quick in regard to that?
Because
Yeah, go
because
ahead,
I
man.
built
Let
up
me
the
ask you a question.
velocity. I built
So-
up the velocity with the airplane matching the same exact velocity.
Velocity.
Yeah, you're using these words improperly here, Truth. Let me ask you a question. Okay, let's make an assumption that we are rotating. Okay, and you have your drone on the Earth, and you raise your.
with more assumptions that don't
Bro,
match
if
our
I can't ask you the
reality.
question, Truth, how can you answer? You have to let me finish. Okay. If the drone is rising on the vertical axis, orthogonal to the plane of the Earth, now, what force are you adding into that drone that's going to change the initial conditions of the velocity with respect to the x-axis? So in other words, if you're traveling, if the Earth is rotating around and around and around, and we're going to use just for the property of orientation with respect to the Earth, if the drone goes up in the air, what makes you think that all of a sudden that should be like now zipping away in the opposite direction of the Earth's rotation? What energy is going into that system that cause a change of that vector?
The physical movement and spin of the Earth.
But I just showed you that with the shell, and the shell's not flying to the back of my car.
That's exactly what it was. So that entire mind fuck has just been debunked by what Sly is actually showing on the screen right now.
Right.
In fact, I'll present it to everyone right now so they can see it.
Clearly. And by the way,
Otherwise, that shell, according to your argument, Truth,
observations regarding
Truth,
reference points show that we're stationary motion.
Truth,
Agree with that, right?
everything you just said, okay, I'm showing you that if we were to go on exactly what you're saying, which is actually a horrible use of certain terminologies, this shell would fly to the back of the car the very moment it left out of my hand.
build up the velocity of the car as you were accelerating. Come on, guys. You guys are really bad at this.
I'm going at a constant speed, man.
What? How do you use the word velocity? If I can ask you, truth, what is a velocity? I
Because
don't.
a second ago you said it was inertia.
Yeah.
Hey,
Exactly.
can I arrest him on one point, because there's a conflation going on, and I don't understand why he can't grasp it. But he's essentially accepting the fact that two objects moving at the same speed across a plane won't drastically change velocity if no energy is put in. But at the same time, he can't accept the fact that if you're standing on a moving object.
No, sir, I accept that fact. The question is, where is the movement? You keep saying
no,
if I'm standing on a moving
car is moving.
Okay, no. Still, hey, truth. Still, okay. You're accepting the fact that it's possible to sit inside a car and throw an object, and the object will still keep the same velocity.
Of course,
you're accepting
that's
that,
repeated
right?
every day in our life. Yeah.
Yes. So why don't you accept the fact that if you're standing on the planet and jumping, you won't get tossed to the side?
I do accept that fact because I played Kerbal Space Program. And
No.
Okay.
So then what's truth?
And that is a correct statement.
Truth.
It doesn't match our reality, our observable, motionless reality.
Truth. Then what's the magical difference between you and something else that shares the same fluid?
Because yours has much more assumptions in it than mine. So I'm going
I eliminated the assumption by doing it in a moving car.
Truth. That's not that was not the question. The question is, what magical properties does the drone have? It shares the same fluid that you do in motion. So what magical properties does your drone have that would send it flying to the side?
That was my question. Yes. Exactly.
I don't even understand.
I'm so sorry, Rez. I'm so sorry, Rez.
Say it more succinctly. Reword it more succinctly.
Oh my God. Okay, first of all, you claim to be an engineer, so I used it as proper as I could because I haven't had these classes.
Here, I'll give him the simple. I'll give you the simple version here. Truth. I'll give you the simple version. What is the difference between this shell in my hand on the screen and your drone?
So I'm not looking at screen change. That might be an issue. But
okay, well, what you're not seeing is I'm driving in a car at 100 kilometers an hour. This is a video. Okay, and I'm tossing a snail shell in the air inside of the car while moving at a constant speed, which means I know I'm moving forward.
Yes, of course.
Now, me tossing this shell up in the air and it coming back down into my hand as opposed to flying to the back of the car, what is the difference between that shell and your drone?
Absolutely nothing.
Exactly. Now let me eliminate one assumption. No, stop. Stop. Truth. Hold on. Now what I'm doing is you keep on coming back with we're operating under assumptions, and I agree with you. Okay, I agree with that in a scientific standpoint. However, me driving in this car eliminates one of those assumptions because I know that I'm moving.
But it inserts motion, which all of our observable things in this reference reality doesn't show. So
but it does not insert any kind of. It does not exert any kind of extra. Hey, truth. You keep coming back to me with, oh, it doesn't match reality. I'm showing you reality right here.
Yeah, and by the way, Slice.
Yes, your car is moving. All observations say the thing we're standing on is motionless.
I'm showing you that it shows the same thing when it's in motion.
Yeah, Sly's not making the assumption that his car's in motion. He knows his car's in motion. That's not an assumption.
He's making the assumption that the thing that we're standing on is moving.
No, you're misinterpreting the test.
Yeah.
If I was on a flat Earth, okay, let's say I'm a flat earther. Okay, let's say I'm a flat earther. Earth is stationary and motionless. Okay. And the atmosphere stays with it. That does not change the fact that I am tossing a shell up in the air inside of a moving vehicle, and it comes right back down as your drone would. The difference is I know that I am in something moving at this time.
Whether the Earth is moving or not makes no difference to Sly's experiment here.
Yeah, and exactly. We are in agreement with inertia and every example you keep trying to bring up.
Stop using these words.
Inertia.
I agree.
What inertia?
Where's the inertia in this problem here?
Agree. The fact
What is the external force acting upon this shell that's producing inertia, that
That
resistance to change of vector.
You're claiming that it's moving the same speed as the Earth and atmosphere is.
Technically, there is, but
Therefore,
His hand, yeah.
Right,
we can do it
with
for body
one
track.
exception, but with one exception, proof, and that is, or truth, with one exception. I know that I'm moving. I can
How do you know
prove
that you're moving?
that
In a
I'm
car
moving.
sample?
He's in a car.
Okay.
I'm in a
how do you
car.
In a fucking
how do you know
car.
that the Earth is moving? So
No,
It doesn't.
I'm showing you that the motion does not matter.
For fuck's sake.
Truth,
Okay,
please stop begging the question. It's getting annoying.
I understand what you're getting at. We
No, you don't.
theoretically.
No, you don't.
We shut up and let me speak. We agree on the points. I agree. If we lived on the spinning ball and whatever, if I jumped up, I'd land in the same spot. I wouldn't be able to observe it in a helicopter hover. I agree with all of those logical standpoints. Okay.
Okay.
I don't know what you're attempting to do here.
Okay, but then what's the problem?
I'm just showing that your guys' arguments and claims have many more erroneous, unbacked assumptions than mine does. Because mine at least starts with what we know.
How?
We're stationary and motionless.
We don't know that.
And that's it.
But I just showed you that.
Again.
So
yours starts adding in spinning balls and black magic or dark energy.
And moving cars, yeah, those are all magic.
What does
Because-
Yokaku say? How many exponential factors are you guys off by today? It keeps increasing, right?
Not one.
Can you define exponential factor, please? Just define
Yeah, please.
exponential factor for us, please.
I'm still waiting for the definition of inertia and vector and velocity and all this other stuff. I don't know.
Truth.
Words are big.
Hang on, listen.
Truth.
Enough,
One last question. One last question.
Hang on.
Good.
Triggered.
I just want to go ahead and Truth, before you start saying triggered, let me just say, I'm just going to repeat what Houseoy just said. By making all of those concessions that you just did, you have literally just invalidated your drone experiment. I hope you find that as comical as I do.
Mic drop.
Yeah, no, I get it. It doesn't prove either or. I get it. But
Thank you. Then why the fuck did you even bring it up? Now I'm triggered.
Assuming that we're motionless,
Reds.
it's one of the clearest. It's one of the clearest examples to prove that we're motionless.
Hey, truth. Truth. So my car's magic. It ain't moving, right?
No, your spinning ball is magic.
My car's magic, right? It ain't moving, right?
No. Your spinning ball is magic.
My car's magic. That's what you just said, because you said that I'm assuming this, right?
Like, can I just ask one question? Because I think this is going to help.
Actually, here's what I'm going to do for this one. Everyone mute. I'm going to leave it to Druss and Truth now, and if any of you interrupt any of them, I'm booting your ass.
Can I have it up
okay,
to Druss? Because there's some stuff in the live chat that I think is interesting to this.
We'll get to live chat after Druss, promise.
Yeah, I'm going to be quick, Steve. Don't worry. It's a really simple. It's a really simple question, Truth. If we were on a spinning ball, what do you think you would observe that would be different to if you're on your flat plane?
That's the crux of what you guys have been trying to show this whole time. Is it doesn't show either way. The point is which one has more assumptions, and it's the spinning ball, not the flat motionary plane. So hold on. You need to eat your own words, because you kept saying at the beginning of the debate, you guys think the most logical claims and theories are the ones with the least amount of assumptions, and we're just demonstrably going through that the globe has many more baseless assumptions than the flat motionless plane. That's simply stated.
Apart from the fact we actually have photographic evidence of it. But
photographic evidence. Oh, the wide angle lenses. I'd love to see more of that. Yeah, I'd love to see some wide angle images. I'd love to. Or how about you bring up
Truth
the
is
CGI?
Oh shit,
I would love to see
I knew I'd trigger him with that.
Triggered.
But yeah, and I'm not trying to be rude or nasty, because that's not kind of what I do. But that was the question I wanted to ask, and it's fine. You said basically you wouldn't observe anything different, which I think, as Housewife pointed out, shows that the drone experiment you did, and I really wanted to bring it up right at the beginning, that your assumptions were flawed, which is why you came to you came to a false conclusion that it would take more energy, because you didn't take into account the fact that everything is moving. It's relative velocity that you're talking about.
Relativity is the magic wand that saves all of your failing ideas.
No, I'm not talking about relativity. I'm talking about relative, as in the word.
Relative frame references. Yeah, I get it. It's the last thing you guys are clinging to. I know.
Last thing we're clinging to?
No, not at all. Okay, hang on. This is Druss's turn. Let's go.
And That's fine, because really what you've done is you conceded every point, so we can now use all the additional observations that we have.
And you've demonstrated for the record that the globe theory has many more baseless assumptions.
No, that's your claim, and you haven't proven that. So that's why I'm not conceding that.
You're showing that to believe in a spinning ball globe idea, you would need to buy into many more baseless assumptions.
No. That again, that's your claim that you haven't demonstrated, because what you're trying to do.
Again, sir. We have already determined that all reference points show that we're stationary motionless. So any claim of spinning or curvature is adding on extra variables and assumptions, which the globe idea
No, it's not,
does,
because it's observable. But anyway, you don't accept that, which is fine. Truth, it's fine. I understand you have your point of view, and I'm not going to change it. That's cool. That's your position, and I'm not trying to do that. So, chillax.
Okay, all right.
So, I mean, all I'm trying to say is the fact that the observation, which is what I'm not saying that, but this is why I believe. This is not why you believe. This is why I believe. Because I can then go to all the other observations I have. I've traveled a lot. I've been down in the southern hemisphere. I've been in the northern hemisphere. I've been to quite far north. Haven't been all the way south.
I travel a lot as well.
Yeah. So I've and I love the stars. And I also love archaeology and various other things, but that's all beside the point. And it's just all of those observations that I have, that I see, and just sort of really simple things that explain why we are in motion. I mean, I love forecast pendulum. It's such a simple experiment, and it works so beautifully. I don't know if you understand how it works.
I understand that it would provide the same results on whatever stationary or spinning plane we live on. So I do understand the experiment, but the results would be the same on any kind of world.
Actually, it wouldn't.
Well, no, wait, because I can explain this. Because do you understand that there is a relationship between the latitude and the length of rotation?
I understand it's a claimed relationship. I've never seen it correlated in physical reality.
And and would it help you if we provided you with the mathematical formula and showed you how to calculate that, and we could actually set up an experiment where you are, and all we would do is measure that rotational time, and then you would be able to calculate your latitude.
No, I want to see rotation. If there's rotation, I don't want to focus on a pendulum. I want to see it on the object.
But the pendulum is demonstrating rotation, Truth. That's what I'm trying to say.
Like, if you stay at this pendulum long enough, you'll start believing every word I tell you. It's like, no, I want to see it.
Fine. You don't want to try a really simple experiment. That's cool. That's up to you. I was giving you an option, and I was trying to actually show a way that you could do something to yourself.
I've done the experiment. The experiment is just like my drone one, where it doesn't prove either or.
Truth. The thing is that you already negated your drone experiment. We're past that at this point. But what you just hang on. What you just said pretty much says it all. You don't want to do experiments that will directly show you the rotation. You want to actually go out into space and be stationary relative to the sun to see the rotation of the Earth for yourself. Basically, nothing we do on Earth, no experimentation we do. Hang on, no experimentation we do here on Earth, nothing we show you in this hangout, in person, whatever, will be enough for you until we strap your ass to the top side of a Falcon 9 and fire.
That's wrong. Because actually, I'm not in this hangout, obviously, but I've presented this many times before. Let me get like 3 Polaroids of the globe. And you'll just shut me up forever. I want like 3 Polaroids where you can see it spinning, it's changing position. That they're on their
hopefully we can get
orbit.
Something better than Polaroids.
Hang on. I actually want to bring someone into this. Sean, quick question. For your Himawari satellite, can you please tell me the resolution of those images?
11,000 pixels by 11,000 pixels.
And
Can
how
you please
many?
tell me the
hang
physical
on, Truth. I'm asking Sean a question here. Okay, so 11,000 pixels by 11,000 pixels. How often is a picture taken of the Earth in that resolution?
Every 10 minutes.
Every 10 minutes. And do you know of a certain someone that has compiled all these into a time lapse?
I've got, I believe, 8 videos made out of time lapse from pictures I've pulled from their servers.
And is a few of them in 4K resolution?
One of them is, yes.
Perfect. Okay, thank you.
Hey, Sean, I have a question. Sean, are those better than Polaroids?
Oh, just a tad bit, yes.
You think so? Oh, hey. Wow, that's special. Okay, cool.
Sean, how long would you think it would take for a person with even the greatest amount of skills to program something like that where you can zoom in with that kind of resolution and not lose resolution? I mean, still have pixelization.
let me put this into scale for you. Pixar Entertainment, the leading edge of CGI rendering, takes about a half of an hour to render one single frame of 1080p video.
And that's using a farm to do it.
That's using a farm dealing with 3 gigantic buildings.
And what did you say the time frame was for each of these pictures, which are 11,000 by 11,000 resolution?
10 minutes.
10 minutes. Okay, so essentially, we need to come up with
It gets better, Red. It gets better.
Well, please continue.
They produce one of these every 10 minutes, and the weather is accurate on half of the world.
Sounds like dark magic to me, Sean. Sounds like dark magic.
Interesting. So let me just get this straight, and you tell me if I'm wrong here. So we have pictures of the Earth being taken every 10 minutes that are in 11,000 by 11,000 resolution, which is, by the way, taken every 10 minutes, which is faster than the render speed of fucking Pixar, of all people. And what is shown on those images is accurate when it comes to the weather being shown.
Yes.
Interesting.
It's about 144 frames a day, isn't it?
No, that's exactly a lot of
144 frames per day.
Yes. If you're
Real
seeking
quick
truth.
before we go further, hey, Truth Seeker, you're not MG42 Pillbox, are you? Because you sound an awful lot like him. I'm serious. The voice, he sounds like
that was good.
No, MG's a much better
We're
argument.
not going to go down that road. We're not going to.
I'm just curious if it was. I mean, it might be.
Okay, we're just going to assume not for this one. Okay, so basically,
And I can actually go one step further than that, Red.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
Dish Network, EchoStar 11, gave a live 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week video feed for 18 months straight before the camera started to fail. It lasted another 8 months before it finally died. Live video feed of the Earth in real time. And everybody's always bitching about, why don't they put a camera in space? They've had one. It wasn't cost effective.
Well, I want to firsthand verify what lens was on the tip of that camera. That's all.
The EchoStar 11?
That's all.
The EchoStar 11 was pretty much a camcorder. It was an afterthought. They just put it up to see if it would work.
Also, this whole like wide angle lens thing needs to just die, because you can test this on your own. Any lens, unless it's something that's specifically made where this doesn't work. Any commercially available lens, be it a GoPro or a non-rectilinear lens, any kind of wide angle lens, you can buy a fisheye lens. Even if you want to do the fun part, playing with a tilt switch lens, any lens across the center of the frame.
Yeah, you dropped.
Shows an actual accurate representation.
Okay, so this hangout brought to you by
Himawari?
Inertia.
Himawari. We can actually go either way. But anyway, Truth. A quick question going back to what Sean Huffer was saying. So Pixar is not at all shy about showing their render farm. In fact, they're very proud of it. Pixar takes 30 minutes to render a frame at that resolution for something that's clearly animated, like the fucking Incredibles, for example. These images that we're getting are accurate no matter where you are on that half of the planet. And this is done every 10 minutes. What about any of that screams fakery to you?
The fact that so many of the other images, like the blue sphere or marbles, where North America doubles in size. I mean,
I'm not talking about other images. I'm talking about these. I'm talking about. Let's stick with him.
You're asking why have we lost all trust in digital imaging? It's because we found out we've been lied to a majority of our lives.
Truth. Let's stick
okay,
with
I'm going to
one.
address that, Red. I'm going to address that, Red.
Sake. Okay.
Nobody. So we lost all trust, but Himawari has actually saved hundreds of thousands of lives by its predictive ability on where hurricanes are going to land. Are you really going to say that we don't trust these satellites?
I'm saying that there probably is some Doppler or whatever weather radar
in the middle of the ocean. No, there is not.
I have never firsthand verified that this data is coming from satellites.
Truth and we're back to the rocket.
Wait a minute.
You will believe anything that you read out of a certain book. I don't.
That's an assumption.
Yeah, I don't know which book you're referring to.
Well, then,
Because
Can I please answer my question?
hang on. Truth. Here's the thing. If we're trying to get away from assumptions here, stop assuming that we're just mindless people that just take everything.
You're trying to get away from assumptions. You're assuming all this data is derived from spinning satellites and a spinning ball.
Truth. And you're assuming that Doppler radar can reach out into the middle of the fucking ocean. Okay? Don't tell me about assumptions when you are full of it. It's leaking out of your fucking ears at this point.
I never assumed. I never made any assumptions.
Hot meat kettle. So, Sean, what were you saying?
I forgot.
Okay, I have a question for him.
Go ahead.
Truth, were you present when your mom was born?
I was conscious.
Okay, so in other words, you don't have first-hand verification of that event. In other words, we can't say for sure that your mom was born.
No, actually, I do. My dad took Polaroids of it.
Are you sure she could be a clone and it could be CGI?
Wait. Your dad took pictures of your mom being born.
Of your mom being born?
Not you, your mom.
Your mom, you say.
Yeah, that was going very weird very quickly, Truth.
Damn.
What the hell just happened? I'm confused.
Some shit.
We next level shit here. So his dad was taking a picture of his mom being born. Interesting.
Okay, hang on. Let's actually let me go ahead and go on this. So, you're going on to Polaroids and shit like this. We're talking about the predictive capability of the images that we're getting. Does that not speak volume? Hang on, Truth. I am not done yet. We are looking at the predictive capability of the images that we're getting from the satellite. Does that not speak at all to its authenticity? Or are you going to assume Doppler radar is in the middle of the fucking ocean?
It doesn't confirm that the data is derived from a synchronicity satellite. Synchronicity. Doesn't prove that.
Synchronicity. Okay.
Hey, Rez, can you stop sharing slide? The outside feed's getting annoyed.
Sounds good to me.
So now they need and my phone with you guys. I'm definitely gonna get back on. This argument isn't settled.
Hey, Truth, thanks for coming on, man.
Well,
Truth. One side argument are loaded with some shit.
Dude, at this point we can't hear you. You're gonna have to come back in when you're on Wi-Fi.
Why do all these people use words in such ways that I'm just not familiar with?
Yeah, whatever. Words.
I don't get it.
Hey, Truth, man. Thank you, man.
I have assumptions, but he hasn't given me one of the ones I actually have as an assumption so far.
It's a conceptualization problem.
You're going to have to drop out, Truth, because we can't understand a word you're saying. Come back to me when you have Wi-Fi, and I'll open up another Hangout, guaranteed.
I will admit, when I'm young, I might have assumed the shape of the Earth. I can probably accept that as an argument, but as an adult, I do not assume the shape of the Earth. It's a foregone conclusion.
So apparently, I can't. Apparently, my P900 is shit because it's not a Polaroid.
It's not a Polaroid, yes, Rez.
Hey, Rez,
look, not a hemorrhoid. Gotta be
hey, Rez, look at the size of the United States on my screen, man. Look how big it is.
I know, it's fucking huge.
Is that the are you doing something with like that? What is it called? The inflatable Earth theory or the shrinking Earth theory? What the hell is that called?
No, I don't know what they call it, but everybody
have you ever heard that
about the size of the United States? So.
Yeah, no, there's this theory about the Earth. It actually literally like
yeah,
okay.
It's instead of plate tectonics, it's supposed to be inflating.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I just want to point something out is that Sly actually made a video not too long ago where
I made a video.
Yeah, no shit. Where he goes into each image of the Earth and basically does something that no flat earther has ever done before, and that's read the fucking caption.
Except for the guy who made it, because that's where he got the years from. He knew he was full of shit.
Yeah, so when you read the caption, some of them are actually composites. They don't say it's anything other than a composite. When you look at other images, like for example from the Epic camera that was launched by SpaceX, those are actual photos.
Well, I'm going to share stuff here because I'm going to answer some questions about Himawari since it got brought up. I don't get to talk about it often enough, and it annoys me sometimes.
Yeah, I know. That's kind of your baby.
That's
Sean's
my
about
baby.
to start beating off on air, so watch out, everybody.
Now, one of the most common objections I get is, why is there no thin line of atmosphere at the edges? Well, my videos are not at the full 11,000 by 11,000 resolution. They're dropped down to 720p, which means that the Earth is 684 pixels tall, which means that the little hazy edge on my videos is going to be non-existent. It's going to be less than 1 pixel wide. However, if you go to the full resolution images that are 11,000 by 11,000, you will see about 6 to 8 pixels of the atmosphere at the edges.
There you go, Sean.
Let me see what you're doing.
This is in Photoshop, so
oh yeah, you can do it better.
I can go all the way in.
But yes, the atmosphere is on the edges. Go ahead and present Housewife because he can show it better than I can because I'm just going off the website right now.
To me. All right, Housewife, you are being presented now.
Shit, I need to hide now.
So the atmosphere is showing on the edges as a slight haze, like it's expected to be. But everybody's saying, why doesn't it show on your videos? The video's resolution is just too damn small. What's up?
One of the cool things as well is once you start getting to the clouds around the edges, you get some yellow and orange tints because you know what happens when yeah.
Butterflies.
So, I think on this particular image, I think this is the section that shows it the best.
I think right now Soundly just orgasmed.
Yeah.
He wasn't the only one.
You can also on these clouds.
I mean, I heard the rumble through the earth. I mean, that is a shattering orgasm.
Here, you can even see some shadows on the clouds.
Hold on. I'm gonna see if I can one up you here with one of the images that are live right now.
Give me that link in the side chat when you get a chance.
I had a series of images that showcased amazingly how the orange and the purple effects on the clouds, but that got lost.
Present me.
Hang on.
I had to reformat everything.
I am presenting Sean now.
Let me zoom all the way out here so you can see where I'm at. I'm literally at the Terminator line. Oh, come on, don't be stalling on me.
I'm not sure if I heard the answer earlier, but how long would it take to render one of these photos if it was a fake?
Days.
So long, you wouldn't even.
And aren't they putting up? Is it China putting up another satellite that's even supposed to be like put the Himawari to shame here? And
can I answer that resolution or that render question? Just because I do this well for fun. To go to that level of detail at 1:1, would you say it is 11,000 pixels?
11,000 by 11,000.
It's 11K.
Okay, well, at 11K, I can tell you that at that level of detail and that level of shading and that level of bump map, okay, and that level of lighting, quite honestly, just to have all of those things in a regular 1080p image would probably take, and I got a pretty strong computer, it would probably take about, I'd say about 2 or 3 minutes just at 1080p.
And it's an exponential problem. And it's an exponential
my computer would cry and explode if I tried to.
Mine would like start catching fire if I tried to go 11K with it.
Something that should make sound like cream his jeans. We've got underlighting.
I'm not even kidding. I tried to render an Earth once with I did the bump map, I did the whole 9 yards and overlays, and I forget it. It was.
I could do it right here live.
I was doing it in Blender, and it was not going to. It was
my computer would just crawl into a fetal position, and be like, "Stop hitting me!
Stop! Don't beat me, master!"
Hey, Rex. Rex. Key is... I just want to say I'm sorry, man. Just you and I know what's up, but I'm sorry, man. I apologize.
And I would like to point out. There's no image for 1940. What the hell?
They forgot to make one.
I'll apologize for the sickening amount of processing power I have in my house and don't really use the Macs.
Keep in mind though, the key in this is the fact that it's accurate. Like if you ask anyone,
now this is literally the sun is on the opposite side of the Earth, lighting up the close side. Why? Because the Antarctic is getting 24-hour sunlight right now.
Fuck you guys, view.
Yeah, all that light around the Antarctic is just the fleet protecting it from everybody going there. That's all.
Yeah.
Okay, I have to know, did my mom picture argument thing make sense? Or
it did for him.
Polaroids.
The whole point was that he kept on saying that he wouldn't believe anything he didn't have first-hand verification of.
He's not going to believe anything unless we strap him to a fucking rocket, blast his sorry ass into space, and so he can see the rotation of the Earth for himself. I guess we'll have to fire him to the Lagrangian.
Even then, he wouldn't, Reds. These guys are not critical thinkers. I think they don't care. Even if you were to show them, if you were to strap them, throw them in space, they would still have a disconnect there.
The motherfucker claims to have degrees and everything, and yet doesn't know what inertia means.
I actually have a question for the room. Do you think it was his dad? Wait, this is important. Do you think it was his dad or his granddad?
Both.
That took the picture?
We didn't get
that was a valid point.
It was a valid point. We didn't get a chance to talk about it in the live chat. They were actually crunching some numbers, Rational Mind, and a few other people were crunching numbers, and determined that pretty much anything outside the orbit of Neptune would be having to travel faster than the speed of light to make one orbit around the Earth if we were fixed. I wouldn't even know where to begin to do if it was 13
I'm gonna have to do something else.
billion light years away. Really? How long would it take for a star to go from one place on the equator all the way around to make one revolution?
I'd like to point out here too.
Tony, are you okay? Beating him? Tony, are you okay? Your wife like going after you or something?
Domestic violence.
Wow.
I'd like to point out too, since the hotspot's off center here, since it's 4 o'clock. Look at the shadows on the clouds or under the clouds.
Hey guys. I just got to tell you guys this. Unfortunately, since I have shit to do, I'm going to have to end this hangout.
No, you don't.
But shut up, Micro.
I was hoping you did my part-time vegan.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. People have been asking me all over the place, hey, where's that one hangout? Okay. For the love of fuck, guys. For the love of all that is halfway fucking literate, and yes, I stole that from Dragnot, subscribe to the Redshift channel. Both of my previous hangouts are going to be put into one big video and uploaded on that channel. So don't ask me where this fucking hangout went. Go to the other channel. That's where it will be.
Hey, Red, where's this hangout going?
Is that on YouTube?
Hey, where's my band button? Okay, there it is.
On Discord, don't be silly.
Hey, wait a minute. Redshift's a theory.
Anyone else want to ask me where the fuck this hangout will be? Anyone else?
Oh.
No? That's right. Fuck you.
I heard Vidme got closed.
Okay,
anyway.
I won't ask.
Is it time to say what you got to say and get the fuck out?
Yeah, so we all have to say what we have to say and get the fuck out. So, Dress, let's start with you. Say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
Well, I would like to have said that was fun. I think that's about all I got to say.
All right. Alsoy, say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
Something I wanted to bring up earlier is the fact that any one of these guys that claim they have a scientific background or know how to do science, they need to be pinned down on the fact that they need to clarify the expected results given certain conditions, which none of them actually go through with, which he didn't either, because he's a dumb fuck. Sadly, it's too late for him to be nominated, but yeah.
Unfortunately.
Go fuck yourself.
There's always next year. All right, Mike. Thanks for just arriving. Sorry about that. But I'll see you in New York. But in the meantime, say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
I may have been here late, but hey, at least I showed up, right?
Exactly. All right, peace out. All right, Sly, say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
Everybody send me your moonrise video clips with the horizon in it and the city that you're near. And other than that, Red, you owe me a rocket.
Will do. Tony, say what you got to say and get the fuck out. Tony, say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
We couldn't get him to shut up earlier.
Wait a second. Sorry. I was in the liquor store. Sorry. Hey, thank you. Truth Seeker, thank you. That was fun. And I apologize, Red. You know why I apologize, don't you?
Just say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
That's it. That's all I got to say.
All right, good. Then get the fuck out.
Peace.
All right, Sean, say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
I think people figured out why I actually use the Himawari images for my avatar. Vote Anthony Riley and fuck Steve McRae.
Steve, say what you got to say and get the fuck out.
I might be changing for Anthony at some point, so we'll see here. But if you guys want to do more hangouts like this and stuff like that, I'm putting my link to my channel in the video description. Most people I think here are already members of the Great Debate community. I think like 90% of your audience already was, but the other 10%, they can go over to my link there and join. We have more upcoming things. We got Fiona's doing a genetics hangout tomorrow. We've got Dr. Henke and Dr. Lachey from Doc Origin coming in soon. We might have Neil deGrasse Tyson coming in. So a huge amount of stuff. So come join the Great Debate community. And with this guy, I think that this guy is clearly probably going to be one of the next nominees for Dumbfuck of the Year 2018. And I want to see newer people get nominated. I don't want to see the same kind of people. So with that said, I'm going to get out of here, Reds. Thanks for a great hangout, and we'll see you.
All right, perfect. So with that, again, this hangout and the hangout before is going to be uploaded on the Redshift channel. So type in the Redshift, go to channel or channels, do a search for it. It should be right there, and then you'll see it. I'll eventually link it, but the reason why I haven't is because I'm lazy. You know this already. So with that, subscribe to the Redshift channel if you want to see these fucking hangouts. But in the meantime, have a good night.